All right. Welcome, everyone. Happy New Year. Welcome to this year's very first Provolution Health Body Signals workshop. So our topic for the first month of the year is Boost Your Energy this 2023. But also, we also want to be recovering from the holiday hangover. All right. If you don't already know, I'm Dr. Cindy. I'm an associate chiropractor here at Provolution Health. And weekly, myself and Dr. not weekly, monthly, myself and Dr. Marcus alternate and give these webinars and educate not just our patients, but also the community and anyone who's interested. So just want to let you know that this video is going to be recorded. It will be then posted to YouTube. So if you enjoy it, feel free to share it. All right. So just want to give you a quick rundown on what I'll be discussing today. We'll first be talking about SMART goals and the two main major causes for having low energy, talking about how we can use food for fuel, the power of exercise, as well as the significance of sleep on our nervous system. So, holiday hangover. It's one of the best times of the year, at least in my opinion, where we have the opportunity to gather with our family and friends, have a break from work. Well, for most people, that's the case. And with that being said, that then often leads to eating foods where we wouldn't normally regularly eat. We overindulge and maybe have one too many drinks. And it's when there's a change in lifestyle, change in schedule, and that's when habits can therefore also change. So this holiday hangover period can more often drain people of their energy, and then they lean into start into the new year, and not only do they struggle to cope with new, say, habits, but also even old habits as well. That's why it comes to me, at least, no surprise that research has found that cardiac mortality is higher around Christmas and New Year's time compared to any other time in the year. So this study was done in America. It was done over quite a long period of time, between 1973 and 2001. And you can see here, between July 1st and June 30th, it really, really peaks and spikes at New Year's Day, but also during Christmas time. So, is it just a coincidence that the holiday period leads to bad decisions and also, unfortunately, some cardiac mortality? So this study was really good, but it's a bit far from home. So close to home, research data from New Zealand, they studied more than 738,000 deaths. And this was done over 25 years, and they found that there was a 4.2 increase in heart-related deaths occurring out of hospital between Christmas Day and the 7th of January. So really only over perhaps a 2-week period at the very most. And there's already a 4.2 increase in heart-related deaths. So we want to prevent that, obviously. It's a bit of a morbid topic, but on the brighter note, I want to talk about, before I talk about energy, I want to talk about, recovering from this holiday hangover. So we often hear people say at this time of the year, new year, new me. That more often than not, I meet people, and I've even been personally, guilty of this too, repeating the same resolutions year after year. So, and only when I started to realize that really, for a goal to actually happen, for a resolution to be successful, you need to have a plan, because there's a quote that goes by, a goal without a plan is just a wish. I had to Google who said this, but it is Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. I probably butchered that very badly, but that's okay. So having a plan is going to help, but then there's no point having a plan if you don't execute it. So for something to happen actually and become a habit, well, there's a book I read a few years ago called Atomic Habits by James Clear. And his research has found that it actually takes 66 days to make a habit, as opposed to previous research found that it was 21 days. So it's a bit longer than we expect. So still now, it's only not too late to begin making these habits so that we can reach our goals and actually confidently say, new year, new me. So if I were to very simply, very simply put down a formula for achieving a goal, is to by starting off with a vision. And with a broad vision, you then can specify a more specific goal. And then from your goal, you can strategize a plan. And then with that plan, you then have to obviously implement, take action, which will ultimately, it really should lead to success. So as part of having a plan, you want to have what we call SMART goals. Now, this is an abbreviation for having goals that are specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, but also time bound. So let's say, take for example, your New Year's resolution is to lose weight. So your specific goal is you want to lose 10 kilos and you want to measure this by weighing yourself on a scale. Now, you can even in fact get more detailed than this and perhaps do an in-body scan, which is where you then, it's a extra fancy scale and you can measure your body fat, your muscle mass, water content, and so forth, and give you greater detail. To make this goal achievable, then you could perhaps plan out to exercise every day for 20 minutes, which is much more realistic than setting a goal out to exercise for perhaps 90 minutes. And you're better off consistently exercising 20 minutes every day compared to the sporadic 90-minute workout. Another way of making this goal achievable is by preparing a healthy lunch, just Monday to Friday, and making sure you do it the night before. Then to be realistic, you can have a cheat day or two, and to make sure that this goal actually happens, make it time bound, and you want to set it for 5-month goal. You start January 1st, and you want to finish this by 1st of June, it'll be 5 months. So then you can even be more specific and divide it up, and so aim for about 2 kilos of weight loss per month. All right, so that's me talking there about the holiday hangover and what it can really take to, get these New Year's resolutions to take place. But I know today's main topic is looking at how to boost your energy. And so without further ado, I want to talk about the 2 main causes of low energy. So if you want to Google causes of low energy, there are going to be so many causes out there. But if I were to put it down simply, it's either due to the body, it's simply depleted of energy, and there's simply not enough energy being consumed. So there's not enough intake, so there's not going to be enough output. Or alternatively, there is dysregulation of the nervous system. So the nervous system just isn't regulating and coping with and knowing what to do with the energy. So let's take, for example, our body is kind of like a car that we drive. So the body being depleted of energy, it's kind of like you have a car and you're filling up petrol. So, energy being the fuel and petrol is go fill up your car, but you are just not filling it up all the way and you're just driving it for far too long and you're not filling it up frequently enough. So it's all to do with how much you're putting in, which is how much you can make out of use of it. As opposed to dysregulation of the nervous system is more so like you have a perfectly looking car on the outside, just like how from the outside we may look really healthy, but we might not feel healthy and feel like we have low energy. So it would be rather than the actual body, the outside of the car, but the engine or the the motor, there is perhaps a leak somewhere and it just physically isn't keeping in that energy, or sorry, that fuel being the energy. I really hope that makes sense. Does anyone have any questions about that at this point in time? Feel free to drop it in the chat box. No? Okay. So there are so many ways that we can look at improving our energy. So I thought I'd break it down to what we eat, our diet, nutrition, rest and relaxation, but also exercise, which if you are a patient at our practice, then it is coincidentally what we offer at lifestyle appointments as well. So you can refuel your energy with a healthy diet. So if you were to look at the packet of anything, of any meal or anything, you would be able to see the nutritional information about the meal. So, or as long with the ingredients list. So there will be sugars, sodium, fats, carbohydrates, protein, but then there'll also be energy, and there always will be energy. So even if you look at, if you think of like a really unhealthy meal, so say for example, a Big Mac meal from Macca's, if you were to go on their website and look on their nutritional value, there will still be some form of energy. Every single meal out there gives us energy. Now, yes, whilst the food may give you energy, our body still has to use energy to process whatever it is. So it's to do with input versus output. You want to be consuming foods that give you as much energy as possible, but it's not the type of food though that will require lots of energy to digest. So it will make sense that you want to be eating lots of unprocessed foods, because unprocessed foods will mean that there won't be additives and preservatives. That's just really unnatural for our body, and because it's harder for our body to digest, it's going to therefore use more energy. You also want to be having lots of fresh, seasonal fruits and vegetables, not only because it contains a lot of the obvious vitamins and minerals, but because seasonal fruits, particularly, seasonal fruits and veggies won't be stored and will also hold better nutritional value as well. Next is you want to be avoiding and minimizing the amount of caffeinated drinks that you're drinking. It sounds quite obvious. It sounds quite contrary, because usually when people think of caffeinated drinks, they think, oh, a big boost in energy. Like energy drinks like Mother, V, Red Bull, they contain lots of caffeine. And yes, it does give you a big boost because of energy short term, because it's ultimately a stimulant. So it stimulates the nervous system, but then it takes it too far, and the nervous system will therefore then lead into dysregulation, and then you simply will therefore lose all the energy and be in a worse state than if you would have even less energy than before you had the energy drink. I thought I'd share this funny story. I was tossing and turning on whether I would share this or not. But many years ago, when I was a uni student, I did a Christmas casual job, Australia Post, and it was night shift. And I remember when I first started, I gave this pre-workout drink a go. It was a sample, and it was a sample I got at an expo, the fitness expo, and I wasn't really familiar with all these pre-workout drinks. So I mixed the whole packet and I just drank it. My intention was very silly of me at the time, my intention was to get as much energy as possible to stay awake for my first ever night shift. But what actually happened was, goodness me, I had a big rush, and then I completely crashed. And I had far less energy than anticipated. And really, if I were to describe what that crash felt like, it almost feels like a hangover. And I guess if you're interested in boosting energy, that's the last thing you want to be feeling like. Moving on, the next thing that you want to be focusing on adding to your diet is eating lots of lean proteins. So by lean proteins, I'm talking about more so chicken, turkey, and just leaner cuts, as opposed to, say, your beef. Some beef can contain a lot of unsaturated fats, and it could be harder for the digestive system to break down. You also want to be having lots of whole grains, nuts and seeds, as they are more on the natural side of things, and will also give you lots of nutritional value with not much energy usage to break down. So this is all the foods that you can that you can eat. But I also wanted to talk here today about, we haven't quite touched on the topic of exercise yet, but I do want to talk about how eating carbs can actually help us give us energy. So the consumption of carbohydrates actually helps replenish energy, and it contributes to the energy requirements for tissue repair. So assuming that you do some exercise, even if you don't go out of your way to do exercise, your body will still regardlessly go through tissue repair. But the research has found that certain grams of protein that you want to be consuming if you're doing certain levels of exercise. So let's say you're doing low intensity training. So perhaps it could be you're not even intentionally working out, but it's part of your job, and as you're doing it for a moderate duration, you want to be consuming about 5 to 8 grams of carbs per kilogram of your body mass per day. Meanwhile, if you're doing moderate to heavy endurance training, so you're actively working at the gym, then you want to be eating 8 to 10 grams of carbs per kilo of body mass per day. And if you are doing competition level training, extreme exercise programs that's really rigorous, then you want to be having at least 10 to 12 grams of carbs per day. Grams per kilo of body mass per day. So let's take, for example, you're someone who's doing low intensity training and you're doing it for a moderate duration. Let's say if your body mass is 70 kilograms, so say 70 times 5 and then 70 times 8, that would therefore work out to be 350 to 560 grams of carbs per day. So that's just an example. You need to feel free to go back to have a look to see how many grams of carbs that you would need for you to boost the energy. So there I spoke about the foods, but you can also take supplements. Now, there are lots of supplements out there that you can take to boost your energy, but today I'm going to talk about the top 5 supplements. So the first one is vitamin B12. So the vitamins in general will all boost your energy, but more so vitamin B12, and it's because it really focuses on forming your red blood cells, which carry and transport oxygen to the rest of your body via your blood, which then therefore leads to energy production. Next is magnesium. So magnesium is a mineral. It's a really powerful mineral, and it helps in not just what you commonly hear about, which is muscle cramps and relaxation, helping with sleep, but also it plays a big role in energy production as well, along with cell and nervous system repair. Thirdly is iron. Iron is also another mineral, just like magnesium, and iron is needed to help oxygen circulate throughout the body, which is necessary for body cells to function and develop. You might find iron is lower if people lead a vegan or a vegetarian diet, and so often people will choose to supplement with a tablet. Fourthly is ashwagandha. So ashwagandha is actually a herb rather than a vitamin, and ashwagandha is what people consider the stress herb. So what it does is it helps reduce cortisol. So cortisol is the stress hormone that the body releases, and if stress is what's taking up all of your energy and skewing your nervous system to be more what you call sympathetically dominant, then ashwagandha can help rebalance your nervous system, re-regulate, and therefore also give you more energy as a result. Last but not least is Korean red ginseng. So Korean red ginseng is used for so many things, such as boosting the immune system and helping with fatigue and boosting energy. It's used very commonly in Asian countries, but now today's society, you can find it more commonly at the grocery shop or shops, and it's often taken actually in a liquid form. All right, next we'll be talking about the power of exercise. So exercise, we may think, oh, it's tiring and wouldn't it take up a lot of our energy? And to some extent, yes, but at the same time, when you do exercise, our body releases hormones, happy hormones, called endorphins. And these endorphins will therefore increase your energy levels, but also at the same time, relieve pain, reduce stress, and improve your mood, which if that happens, therefore you'll have an increase in energy. So in Australia, our Australian Government Department of Health has made some recommendations for adults to do certain levels of exercise on a weekly basis. So the recommendations are, as an adult, you want to be doing 2.5 to 5 hours of exercise a week, that's of moderate intensity. And whereas if you're doing more vigorous intensity exercise, then simply per week, just 1 to 2.5 hours is enough. So if you were to do vigorous intensity, then 20 minutes a day is really all you need, because say 20 times 5, Monday to Friday, that will hit the 1 hour target. Although that is on the lower end of the recommendations, it is far better than simply not doing any exercise at all. So there are so many forms of exercise out there. I mean, you can play some sports, you can simply go for a walk, you can go to the gym, you can do classes of so many things. But I know that sometimes our days can be so busy and we just don't have the time to go out, and it's a bit of a more of a chore to go out and participate in some exercise. So what I actually often recommend to my patients who are not only short on time, but also wanting to just start doing something is Tabata. So what Tabata is it is a type of high intensity interval training. And in its simplest form, the formula for it is essentially you're going to work out for 20 seconds, doing your very, very best. So you're really going to work out hard for 20 seconds, but then you're going to rest for 10 seconds. And then so you can play with this formula and do it for how many ever minutes that you want. But if we go by the 20-minute example, you want to be doing certain rounds as well. So let's say if you do the 20-minute example, if you do 20 seconds of exercise followed by 10 seconds of rest, if you repeat this 10 times for one round, that gives you 5 minutes of exercise. So if you do this with 4 different sets of exercise, and each exercise you do it for 5 minutes, that will give you your 20 minutes of exercise for the day. So for example, this is a really good example where you don't need any equipment, you just need yourself. To do is you can do burpees for the first round, you can do mountain climbers for the next, you can do squat jump for the next one, and then you can do jumping jacks for the last. So all simple movements you can do for yourself. You can, if these exercises don't interest you, if squatting isn't something that your knees are able to do, then go online. There are lots of formulas and workout plans readily available. And also, if you use a smartphone, you can go on the App Store and download a Tabata app. And what it'll do is you can put in how many repetitions and how many sets that you want to do for each exercise. And what the app will do is give you a beat, and it will tell you when to stop exercising and when to do your rest, when the rest stops and when to move on. And so basically, because everything's so fast paced, you don't really have time to look at anything. You just have to put the phone down and you hear a big loud beep, and it'll let you know what to do next. All right, last but not least, the next big thing that you can do to boost your energy is make sure that you get significant good sleep. So for adults, the general recommendation is 7 to 8 hours of quality rest. So we all want to be sleeping like this dog here, right? But what actually enables that to happen is this little part of the brain here, that blue little part there. It's called the hypothalamus. And what the hypothalamus does is it's responsible for kickstarting the sleeping process, and it's responsible for switching on the parasympathetic nervous system. So what is the parasympathetic nervous system? So what I have here is or actually a bit of anatomy. So we have our brain, right? Here, and then you have a small brain stem that comes out, and then you have a spinal cord that comes down throughout your spine. And then out of the spine is all the nerves of your body. Now, this system here is what we call the autonomic nervous system, and it's made up of two branches. You have the parasympathetic and the sympathetic. So parasympathetic is, the nickname we give it is the rest and digest and the healing nervous system, whereas the sympathetic nervous system's nickname is fight or flight. So what happens is when one of the two is switched on, the other is off. They both can't be on at the same time. And essentially, you want to be having about an equal split during your day. So when you're sleeping, you should definitely be in parasympathetic. And because in parasympathetic, your organs, your certain organs will do certain things to help allow you to, one, obviously rest, but also recover and get the energy that you need for the rest of the day. But the thing is, sometimes in life, stress can occur and it can actually influence how the balance is between the two nervous systems. So you may be, parasympathetic for way too long. And when you need to be a little bit, switched on, you may not be. Or alternatively, unfortunately, what we see more commonly in people is they are far too stressed and they're not getting enough energy because they're just not in parasympathetic for quite long enough. So, hang on. What happens then is it affects the nervous system and it causes subluxation if there's stress. So as I was saying earlier, we have a brain and then we have the brain stem, the spinal cord that runs down through the body. And that's how the brain, it communicates all the nerve messages. But if there's this connection, then the brain and body won't be able to communicate. When that's what leads to the dysregulation and when people are too dominant in either sympathetic or parasympathetic. But the great thing is, though, is that chiropractic adjustments actually restore this cycle and allow the brain and body to be communicating very well to therefore promote normal nervous system function. So what we have here at our practice is a HRV scanner, and what it does is it accurately tells us where in your nervous system are you sitting, and also how is your nervous system adapting to the imbalance between your sympathetic nervous system and your parasympathetic nervous system. So I want to say, first of all, thank you everyone for coming to the webinar tonight. And our gift to you is a HRV scan to uncover your stress levels. So I want to really finish off by saying that health is not how you feel, but rather that your body can heal and you can boost your energy. So if you need a hand or anything, reach out, don't hesitate to reach out. We also regularly post educational content on our Facebook and our YouTube. So if you're interested, give us a like or subscribe to us on YouTube. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Does anyone have any questions? If you do, don't hesitate to put it in the chat box. No questions? All right. Well, if you do have any questions later on, don't hesitate to ask myself or Marcus in the practice. We really are here to support you. I want to really say thank you again for joining us on the first webinar of the year, and I hope you look forward to the upcoming webinars as well. All right. Have a good night, everyone. I'll stop recording.